And I see no reason why Mr. Mayo, a product of the Belichick culture, will move away from that. None.
Well, we'll see. Like once again, that will be a signal if indeed they go with Malik Neighbors or they go with Jaden Daniels or Drake May. It'll be a signal that maybe they have changed. So we'll find out. Once
Yeah,
again, a pivot point. Like I
yeah,
said, one of the pivot points of the draft.
yeah. And now this comes to you at pick 4, because now we go to da, 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 the Cardinals.
Yes.
The Cards. The
Right.
Cards. What say you about
So
the Cards?
so if the Cardinals are committed to moving on from their current quarterback, then they would take a quarterback. But I don't think they will. I think they decide to continue to build their offensive line. I think Joe Alt, the Notre Dame offensive tackle, does that.
Joel.
Yes.
Great choice. That's 2 OTs.
Yeah. Well,
This could
that's
actually happen, you know?
well, it's because that's one of the positions that's not as deep as some of the other positions. So I think offensive tackles will go off the board early because there's a perceived pretty sizable gap between the first tier and the second tier, and
Ah,
then a pretty sizable gap between the second tier and the third tier.
I'm glad you said that because the noise has been, oh well, hell, well, not hey, I didn't mean to say it like that. Hey, there's this idea that there's this glut of offensive tackles, and yet when they say glut, the idea is that they're all talents the same. You're saying no, so not the
I'm saying no. I'm saying that there's a couple of elite guys who can definitely play left tackle, then a little gap, and some guys who are definite starters who might be left and might be right. There's a gap, and there's developmental guys. And I think most people, I mean, there's some disagreement about who's who, but most people sort of see the class that way, though some disagree about who's in what group.
now, folks. We've got Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb as wide receiver going to the Bears, Caleb Williams drafted by the Commanders, Mr. Fashanu drafted by the Washington. Excuse me, drafted by the Arizona. What's
Arizona Cardinals.
the Arizona Cardinals, and then of course, wait a minute. I'm sorry, that wasn't the Cardinals. Drafted by the New England Patriots. Mr. Fashanu is drafted by the Patriots. And then we have the Cardinals picking up uh, Mr. Alt. So Fashanu to the Patriots, Alt to the Cardinals. Wide receiver, quarterback, 2 offensive tackles in a row. And now that brings us to a team that doesn't need a quarterback, the
Right.
Chargers. All right. And
But
that,
they do need a lot of other things.
yeah, and that brings it to me. And Bill, who do you have as the top players in this position available?
So players that are available that I think are going to go in the top 10. Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU.
Mhm.
Tight end Brock Bowers from Georgia, and that's a perceived need. They have tight ends, but none of them are quite what Brock Bowers is.
Right.
Rome Odunze from Washington, another wide receiver. Byron Murphy the second, and Jerzon Newton, both defensive tackles, both those quick penetrating 3 techniques. Once again, that's something that the Chargers don't really have, is that dominant penetrating D tackle. And then after that, it gets interesting, right? Because in my mind, there's a little bit of a drop off. But after that, you have like the corners, like Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Then you've got pass rushers like Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. And then the next tackle in my mind is Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, who is in that sort of next cut of tackles, along with J.C. Latham from Alabama, and then it gets interesting. Then some people love Tyler Guyton. He had a great start to his week at Senior Bowl, and you saw some of the pass rushers sort of figure him out. He's one of those guys that's, you could tell he grew up playing basketball. He's got that, long arms and a lot of height, but he can be overpowered. But once again, basketball background, he's got good movement, but probably needs to build up his core and lower body strength a little. And then, like I said, some other corners like Nate Wiggins. Then you've got my top interior lineman, who is Jackson Powers Johnson. Got to talk to him a little bit at the Senior Bowl. Got to meet his father also and talk to him a little bit. That guy is going to be a 10 to 12-year pro. He's going to be a 6 or 7-year Pro Bowler and probably a 2-time All-Pro type player. Immediate starter.
I have made my decision on behalf of the Chargers.
All right, then.
Ta-ta-da. Malik Neighbors.
So they get a very explosive receiver who some people have compared to another similar LSU receiver in Jamar
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, who is physically very similar, went to the same school, a lot of the same strengths. So you're getting a guy who can break tackles. He's like tough runner after the catch, can create separation at the catch point, very competitive, and wants to try to score almost every time he gets his hands on the ball. So he's going to be explosive. He's going to, and in that offense, which I think will be a good offense, he should produce.
Now, those of you out there who are Chargers fans may be wondering what this means for Keenan Allen. Well, Jim Harbaugh is on record as mentioning Allen as part of the Chargers' future. So I believe that Harbaugh will get Malik as a direction for the Chargers' future with respect to wide receiver, but keeping Keenan Allen as the wily, crafty veteran who can make plays, as opposed to shipping him off someplace else.
Yeah,
All right.
And obviously it'll also come down to what number Mr. Allen will be willing to accept. If he's willing to give him a little discount, I could see him staying. If he's trying to get the most, I could see the Chiefs come calling, because they could also use a wily veteran, a guy who could help to influence their very young wide receiver room, and he's still a very dependable, productive move to change receiver.
Yeah. And now we come to the G-men, the New York Giants. Bill, you're up.
Well, once again, this is another potential landing spot for J.J. McCarthy. Or Jaden Daniels.
Wait a minute. Does he think Daniels a bust?
Well, I think it's one of those two. And it comes down to who they want to go with, the younger guy with more upside or the guy who's more developed. And once again, the combine and the whiteboard will be very, very important in how they make that decision. They got, I don't know, snookered, pick a term, when they went after Daniel Jones. He, to his credit, worked hard. He improved incrementally, but there is a serious limitation to what he can ever be. Now, both of these players I believe to be more talented than Daniel Jones. I personally had an early third-round grade on Daniel Jones. I was shocked when he went as early as he did. At least both these players are players that I see in the first round and have first-round grades on both of them, though later than they're going, but quarterbacks always get pushed up the board. I've just accepted that always happens. So to me, it just comes down to youth versus experience, right? The classic sort of decision you make at that position. Do you want a guy who's a little more developed, has seen more things, done more things, or do you want a guy who is not even legal to drink yet? I think J.J. McCarthy either hasn't turned 21 or is about to turn 21, and is one of the youngest players in the whole entire draft, I believe.
Right. That is the case. However, who goes to the Giants? Who's your choice?
You asking me?
Yeah, it's because you're the pick.
My personal choice, I would go with Jane Daniels. I appreciate the excitement around Mr. McCarthy. I understand it. Got to see him in high school, right? He's from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Saw him play a little bit in high school before he transferred. He played his last year at a different school, at IMG, very different school. But he spent his first couple of years. His first couple of years of high school here, well, not here, but northwest of here. Just like seeing Garoppolo, right? Garoppolo played against a friend of mine's team. Shout out to my friend Giroux, who was a volunteer assistant coach at Bolingbrook at the time. And we were watching the starter for Rolling Meadows got hurt. That's where Garoppolo played. He wasn't a starting quarterback at the time. He was actually a backup and played linebacker at the time. Bolingbrook was handling them. Then the starter goes down. Garoppolo goes out there and then leads Rolling Meadows to victory. But I think if it's up to me, my job's on the line. I want someone where I have a better sense of who they are. I'm not a mystery box guy. I want the guy who I'm very sure about it, not just his ceiling, but his floor. I have a better sense about Jaden Daniels' ceiling and floor, or better chance of his ceiling. About this, I think they have about the same ceiling, maybe slightly more for McCarthy, but it's hazier because I have a better sense of what Daniels is. Plus, he gives me that immediate pop as a runner. And though McCarthy's a good athlete, he's not the same runner that Jaden Daniels is. So I would take Daniels.
Okay, so Daniels, to me that's exciting, massively exciting selection, and it'll send Giants fans into a tizzy with all Lamar Jackson-esque thoughts of championships and offense bouncing around their heads. Be quite fascinating. That brings us to, in the order, number 7. The Tennessee Titans, and that's my pick.
Yep.
And the Titans are, widely said. Well, Bill, you tell us what you think the Titans' needs are.
Woo! Okay, it's easy to say what their needs are not. Now they have drafted 2 young quarterbacks, and so, but what's the old saying? If you have 2, you have 0. But I believe they give Will Levis at least 1 more year. There's a lot of good receivers to be had in this class. But I think this is where Brock Bowers lands. If you look at their
good choice.
If you look at their tight end room, and once again, no offense, these are solid professional people, but how much do you worry about preparing for the tight ends of the Titans right now? How much time are you spending in your defensive meetings saying, "Here's what we have to do against the tight ends of the Titans"?
Right.
I'm going to say very little. Now you go from very little time. I mean, right now it's 70% Derrick Henry, 25% who?
Yeah, who? Well, number 10, right? Mr. Number 10. Number 10.
Yeah, sort of, kind of him, and then I would say also even Tajay Spears, their backup, who's a really good running back, and then pick a receiver, but none of those guys terrify you. But getting Brock Bowers gives you the ability.
Hopkins doesn't terrify you? He terrifies me.
He's not that much different from Keenan Allen at this point. He's a 11 yards and fall down guy, and there's nothing wrong with 11 yards and fall down. But when's the last time you saw him make a big play?
Will Levis, 4 touchdown passes, debut. Remember?
Yeah.
I mean, you asked.
That was week 7.
But you asked.
No, I'm saying that. But last I checked, it's now a 17 game season. So that means that.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, yeah. I mean,
right. So I'm agreeing with you. He made a big play in the first half of the season.
2,
right? He made 2 big plays in the first half of the season.
Yeah. Well, technically,
there's another 10 games.
3. Yeah, but you're right. The rest of it's kind of like, They got. You know why, Bill? They gotta beat on what they were doing.
Yes.
And that killed all that crap.
Yep.
But hey, comment, because I was telling Seth this the other night. I believe Brock Bowers is a problem. What say you?
Well, here's the thing about him. It comes down to how much you care about size at the position. He's about the same size as Dave Casper. Now, Dave Casper managed to have a nice, long career, a long time ago, but about 237 pounds. He's probably going to come in about 6'3 1/4, 6'3 1/2, and he's going to run probably low 4.6s to mid 4.5, somewhere in that range. And he's a good enough blocker. He's not devastating. He's not, blasting people into the cheap seats, but teams don't care that much about blocking at the tight end position as they used to, right? Riley Odoms isn't walking through that door anymore, kids. So he's going to be fine. But I think the main thing is the creativity of the play caller. Yeah. I believe he goes to the right place where they move him around. He's in the backfield. He's in the slot. He's out wide. He's an inline Y. He's at the wing. He's, You move him around, you put him some of everywhere, occasionally some wild Brock, all that good stuff. Then I think you look at sort of what Taysom without the passing, sort of what Taysom Hill does without the passing.
Mhm.
Only a guy who's an even much more developed actual receiver. That's what you're going to get, to me, from a guy like Brock Bowers.
There you go, Brock Bowers. So, folks, we were going to have Seth Henderson join us. He has some personal matters to take care of. So, onward. And just inform me. Now we've got Brock Bowers to the Titans, the Falcons, and it comes to moi. The talk around here, since I'm in this region, is that everyone thinks the Falcons need a quarterback. The only question is, do they acquire a quarterback through free agency or trade or the draft? But everyone is dissatisfied with Desmond Ridder and the gentleman backing him up, Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
Which was actually reversed, because then it was Taylor Heineke and the guy backing him up, Desmond Ridder, which was changed back to Desmond Ridder being backed up by Taylor Heineke, which was changed back to
Yeah.
If you're
First of all,
Does
a
he?
lot of blame has to be directed at the previous administration.
Exactly.
When you have a young quarterback who one of the main struggles is giving him confidence. When you do that, when you yo-yo him in and out of the starting lineup, you destroy continuity, confidence, and development.
Yep.
I still don't know what Desmond Ridder can and can't do, really, quite frankly. I would love to see him get another chance someplace else. Someone get the Vikings on the line. But the fact is that I agree. I think that they may want to move on. Whether Ridder becomes good someplace else or not is not, I guess, not their concern. But they just had a hot mess last year. That team was a hot mess. The team had good moments and good games, but they could never put any consistent progression back to back to back anywhere.
Right.
It was always one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. I watched a lot of Falcons, at least in part because of you, and also because I was trying to get a good read on what this team would do in the draft. And they were a confusing team to watch.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay. I know I've been critical of this young man, but it's not his fault. It's only a matter of evaluation. But I always said that I felt the person I'm about to name was not a top 5 pick. We're at pick 8. And at this place, I'm going to take Drake May for the Falcons.
Okay.
And because I believe he has enough experience to be plug and play and run basic concepts. My issue is that over the stretch of last year, when people caught up to what they were doing, he was inconsistent. He was turning the ball over an uncomfortable amount of time for me. 2 interceptions in his final contest. That was against rival North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fumbled twice in that same game. That's 4 turnovers in one game.
Yes.
Right? Not only that, he lost the ball on 2 consecutive plays. The first time they recovered, the second time, they didn't. He went 1 of 7 during that stretch for a measly 3 yards. Okay? So that's the horror. That's Drake May, the Halloween movie. That's what you don't want to see. But he's got, as I say, a live arm.
Yeah, that's putting him mildly.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 230. He can run.
Yep.
And he has a greater understanding of when to run, I think, born of his coaches, but also born of the fact that he's good at looking for it and realizing it, and not dominating his play with, I'm going to run instead of pass. So it becomes a weapon.
Sure.
And
it helps that he's a second-generation quarterback. I watched his dad, Mark May, throughout his career. He's been groomed almost since birth to play the position. He's from a very athletic family. He has two brothers who played basketball at Carolina, a sister who was a terrific volleyball, I think volleyball player. Everybody, I mean, it's a very athletic family. He's a tough kid also. I mean, he took kind of a beating this past year and didn't seem to really
Kind of.
yeah, he took a beating this past year.
Oh, nailed by Clemson, man. Woo!
Yeah, yeah. It really didn't seem, but it didn't seem to phase him, right? You didn't see him, flipping out on his line. You didn't see him like looking down at the rush. It sped him up at times. You could see him like trying to go through everything faster, but you didn't see him staring at the rush. You just saw him speeding up, and it made him a little less accurate because he was just trying to do everything too fast.
Yeah, and the other thing about this is that the reality is when you take someone like Drake May at that position, I think if you take the core of what he can do in running the offense, that's a start. You're not talking about somebody that doesn't understand, or you're going to have to hold up the bananas, right? I mean, he understands the verbiage. Yep. This is what we mean by plug and play. He understands how to make sure that the teams are lined up because that's part of the air raid offense. Now, the problem with the air raid, and the reason why I didn't want to take him as high as Caleb is, first of all, Caleb is that player who can make a difference on his own with his throws. And he's done it a lot. Whereas Drake May did it when no one saw him coming. And the minute they saw him coming, it was like, hey, wait a minute. We're going to rip Liz you, coverage-wise, and you're not going to figure it out, and we're going to make life hard for you. And I think down Joe Mario, when I put the question to him if he thought that Drake was a bust, I didn't mean bust like entirely. I meant if you spend too much money on him. That's what I meant. And I meant to say that term to be dramatic about, because look, if you spend a lot of money on someone like that and they don't perform and they start doing what he did his tail end of his career in college, what's the word they're going to use? It's going to be the B word. You and I both know it. We heard it all the time. So,
once again, he's another guy where situation, I mean, it's true of every player.
Yeah.
But when you get a guy, he and JJ McCarthy are extremely talented.
Wait. Do you think McCarthy is better than May now?
No. They're both extremely talented.
Okay.
May did more for his team than McCarthy did. McCarthy was, if you swap the two, people would think of McCarthy as a borderline second round guy, and May would be thought of as maybe the first quarterback because he would be in such a great situation. Because think of how there's games where McCarthy only had to throw the ball 18 to 22 times, and they would just steamroll teams. He had a great offensive line. He had a great running game. He only occasionally had to sort of rise to the occasion.
Well, let's not forget he had a great defense to get the ball back for him.
Right. He had all those things. Carolina had a below-average defense. The offensive line was not good. And he had better receivers the previous year than he had this year also. So, no Josh Downs coming through the door this year. So, no offense to Tez and some other players. I'm saying they didn't have receivers, but not Josh Downs. They didn't have anybody who was as good as Josh Downs on the team this year, at least not a receiver. So, he suffered a little bit from that, similar to what happened to Sam Howell in his last year. Sort of a very cyclical thing with UNC quarterbacks. They have a terrific sophomore year, and their junior year is a little down. But he's got a bigger arm than Sam. Sam has a good arm, but Drake May's arm is in that top tier.
There you go. So Drake May to the Falcons. Now we come to, in our order, we're back to the Bears.
Right.
And so, Bill Carroll, you're up.
So the Bears can still address their offensive line, which they should definitely address. So now it just comes down to who they like. I think this might be a good landing spot for Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. Fuaga is a guy that some people see as a right tackle, some people see as a left tackle. It comes down to how much you value power versus agility and speed. He has borderline enough agility and speed to be a left tackle, but he has a chance to be an elite right tackle. And frankly, you need both. If you want to be a really good offensive line, you need a really good right tackle. Really good. Let's ask the Eagles about the importance of an elite level right tackle.
Hey, Talise Fuaga's number 75, right?
Fuaga's uniform number is correct, 75.
Yeah, that dude's a hoss.
Yes.
That dude's a hoss. Hey, but you know what? Number 66 that played right next to him at a guard, the freshman. That dude's super hoss. Woo!
But they're building once again. I guess there's a quick college football preview. Watch out for Oregon State, kids. They're building something there. That is a program on the rise. They have one of my favorite running backs in Martinez. Their quarterback situation is a pretty good one. They've got some good defensive backs also. If they can keep – now, the challenge is keeping your best players at a place like Oregon State because they can't put quite the same kind of NIL packages that some of the other schools can. But they're doing a very good job. They're good at evaluating and developing talent at Corvallis. Watch out for Oregon State.
Okay, so we've got now. So basically, the pick is Talise Fuaga.
Yeah, I'm a Fuaga fan. Yep.
Cool. All right. So Talise Fuaga is the Chicago Bears pick there. Offensive tackle. That's 3 offensive tackles off the board in 9 picks. Wow. Is that a record? Is that a record?
I don't think it's a record though. But it's a good number. It's a very, very good number.
Yeah. So that brings us to. Wrong panel. Right panel. The Jets. We actually need Anthony Carrillo here, but I haven't had to put on.
Great to have the Carrillo cannon, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah. I have to put on my Carrillo hat. Although I'm tempted to call him just for grins. I think I'll just do that, knowing he's not going to answer. It just say, hey. Your team is up, Carrillo, and I'm picking on your behalf. That's what I'm putting this out there, and thought I had Zennie. There it is. All right, yeah. All right, let's see here. This should be interesting. Now, in the event he's available, I'll ask him what he thinks. He probably will have an answer.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he'll have some ideas.
Yeah.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Oh.
The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hey, Anthony, it's Zennie. The Jets are picking at 10 in the draft. I'm on with Bill Carroll, who says...
Hello. And we miss you.
Yes, and so I'm picking on your behalf because you're busy with your family and work and everything else. And so I'm guessing. I'm going to guess, and you can let me know if you think that I'm wrong. But given that the Jets' biggest needs are offensive tackle, wide receiver, safety, defensive tackle, and quarterback, that you, being of sound mind and quarterbacking, are going to pick J.J. McCarthy of Michigan.
Oh.
And you can let me know if you think I'm wrong. Now, having said that, I think you also might be inclined to go after a solid Alabama Crimson Tide player like Terrion Arnold at cornerback. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick Terrion Arnold at cornerback and go from there, because there's some people who think that McCarthy is actually a second-round pick. And I'm not going to screw with that because I'm one of those people who kind of agrees with that. But Terrion Arnold, Alabama, cornerback, that spells one thing to me. It spells interceptions, baby. Interceptions. It spells coverage is the other thing that comes to mind.
Right.
So
tackler on top of it.
Exactly. So, but you would also say, wait a minute, why would I pass on Dallas Turner, who's actually ranked higher? And I would say, you're right about that. So you know what I'll do? I'll take Dallas Turner off the board.
Okay.
Also a need. Alabama junior, 6'4", 252, great size. Not quite a Harvey Martin size, which I prefer, which is 6'6", 250. The prototypical defensive end. What say you, Bill?
Well, it depends on what you need your defensive ends to do. Obviously, a 252-pound defensive end is ideal in some situations, but not so much in others. If you're going to ask that person to hold the point against offensive tackles in the run game, you might need somebody a little stouter. But if basically all you want is someone who can rush the passer like a scalded dog, then yeah, you like guys like that.
Yeah. All right. So it's Dallas Turner. Thanks, Anthony. We'll see you. All right. All right. Hung up on me. Anyway. All right. So let me see something while I'm talking about Harvey Martin, because I may have understated Harvey Martin's weight.
No, he was pretty thin. He played in most of his career in the 250s, about 6'5".
Yeah.
252 most. I mean, he's very similar physically to a guy like Charles Haley, who was almost exactly the same size.
Yeah, he was but he held his own. He was 6'5", 262. I did understate it. He was 262.
Yeah, well, he got to that. He entered the league at 252, but he put on probably about 10 pounds in his career. Yeah.
But see, when I think of Harvey Martin, I think of that iconic play where he is literally crashing into Craig Morton. Remember that? In Super Bowl 12, like, you got the music like, dun, 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 dun.
He finally gets a chance to really unload on Morton. Of course, they were teammates, I think, for 4 years, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I have to say this because it's very sad. He died of cancer at 50. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, very sad. Yeah. All right. So moving forward, I don't want to cry there, but if you're a Cowboys fan like I was, it's a tearful thing. At any rate, we got the Jets. The Jets have their edge rusher from Alabama. And now we have the Minnesota Vikings, which to me is another fascinating place to be. Bill, that fascinating place to be.
They're another team that could use everything. They could use offensive line. It's a defensive line. They have a great safety, but who's on his last gasp. But there's no safety you would take quite this early. But they could use corners. The good news is whatever you take is something you can use. If you want to look at it that way, the spin it in a positive fashion. But when I look at the board, I think about people like Jerzon Newton from Illinois. That could be a good fit for them. He's that explosive, one gap penetrator. I could see Quinyon Mitchell, the terrific corner from Toledo. I got to see up close at the Senior Bowl, dominating. I think basically like 2 balls were caught on him in the entire practice week. I'm not exaggerating. I think literally 2. One of them on a terrific little move by Robin Wilson, and then he got sort of mossed when Javon Baker jumped over him, and that was it. That's the collection. Those 2 catches. I could see Laiatu Latu if his medicals come back not too frightening. As a guy that did at one point medically retire from playing the game, so the medicals will be huge for him. So it just comes down to. Wait, is Rome Odunze still left?
Certainly is. Yes, sir.
Oh, well then I think that might actually be picked right there. It gives them that person that they have their slot receiver and they have their X receiver, right? They found in Jordan Addison, they found the guy that's sort of taking the place for Diggs, or not Diggs, for Thielen, and they have the person who replaced Diggs in obviously in Jordan Jefferson. What they don't have is that third receiver. And now you have that big-bodied Z who can be that red zone threat. Rome Odunze gives you that. Now they have a complete receiving room.
So there he is, Rome Odunze, folks.
At least they fixed one position on the team.
Oh. Boy, that's going to be something else, I think, having him go – if this order holds, of course, to the Vikings. And so, my goodness, think about it. You've got him and you've got Justin Jefferson. Maybe? Yep. What do you think is going to happen with Jefferson?
I mean, I mean, Justin Jefferson is special. Whoever you get is going to be helping Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is going to be the guy for the next decade. So, but Jordan Addison is that classic, quick, crafty, explosive slot receiver who's very quick in and out of his breaks and good after the catch. And then Jordan Jefferson is everything, right? He can play everywhere. You can put him in, the slot. You can put him, obviously out wide at Z or X. But what they don't have is that classic, big-bodied, wall-you-off red zone guy. Now they do. So, like I said, this is a complete set now. So they still have a lot of other positions to address, but at least one position is totally set now.
All right. So now we're on from the Vikings down to the Broncos, another team that is said to me to. You know what? I'm of the opinion they less need a quarterback than they need a defensive tackle. More than anything, they need that up the middle scary dude. And well, it falls to me, right? So since I'm looking for that up the middle scary dude that will really make the difference for them, and looking through this, who do you think is the up the middle scary dude I need to go after, Bill? As defensive tackle.
I mean, to me, it's back to back. The two top guys are Jerzon Newton and Byron Murphy II. Both those guys are incredibly explosive, powerful interior, three techs. So if you want that guy is that that person that creates havoc on the interior. You're looking at those two and just deciding which one you like better. Murphy's a little bigger. Newton's a little more freaky as a just pure athlete. So they're about 11 pounds different in weight. They're close to the same height. They're both a shade under 6'1". I think one will come in at about 6'1 3/4. The other one will come in. They'll probably both be within about an eighth or quarter of an inch of each other, 6 feet and a half to 6 feet and 3/4.
Now, I've heard Byron Murphy II described as a freak. Why?
Well, they're both freaky, but Newton is even more agile and
really
and shifty. Yeah. So you have a lot of lower body power in Murphy II. He's super explosive, but ability to like slip and change direction and slide and like lateral quickness, Newton's got it over Murphy. Murphy is a guy who's got power and explosion, and he's gonna crush some people. But the guy that's got like all the moves and all the slick little sort of, I'm not saying he's Warren Sapp. I'm not going that far, but he's a little Sapp-ish, a little Sapp-esque. While Murphy is a little closer to a guy like, he's bigger than a guy like Geno Atkins, but is similar to Geno Atkins in just that shocking power in his hands and lower body, that hip explosion. But he's bigger. He's 308 pounds, and Geno came out at 277. Now he bulked up. He got bigger. He was about 288. By the time he got to camp, and finished his career by about 302 pounds by the end of his career. But Murphy's 308 to start, and he'll probably settle into his career in the 312, 313 pounds.
All right. So you got Mr. Newton off to the Broncos, and not a quarterback.
Yes, which will once again incense a lot of Broncos fans who are all excited about getting a quarterback.
Well, but they need to be more excited about getting a better offensive coordinator work. I mean, their offense, for a guy that came in giving the specter that, oh, you know what, I'm not going to have the problems that Nathan had. Remember that? Essentially, they did have the problems that Nathan had. Including getting stomped by the Dolphins. So it wasn't just because they hit the Dolphins on a bad day for them. It was because they had an approach that didn't emphasize the speed of the people that they had. It didn't appreciate the speed of the game. It was old. and they're going to they're going to have more of those problems if they continue that approach. You know, they should learn how to speed up their plays. In other words, not take them so long. I don't mean from a standpoint of calling the signals and everything, but just simply design of the play. Everything is like you can run it in the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. And they need to rethink their offense for the modern age and the superhuman defensive people that plague offenses that are not well designed like theirs. Otherwise, they're going to have another season like the one that they did before. Sean's going to be considered a fraud, and that'll be that. So, next. Everybody say next. All right. So with that, we have, speaking of next, after the Broncos, we have the Raiders, which unfortunately doesn't fall to me. It falls to you, Bill. Finished 8-9. Biggest needs, it's a quarterback.
If I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, so now both Jaden Daniels gone. So JD McCarthy. So that's your top rated quarterbacks on the board.
Yeah.
I would think almost anybody. And you have that person who can be that bridge, because Aiden O'Connell is, you may not love Aiden O'Connell, but he can keep the boat afloat while JJ McCarthy, who is very young and very inexperienced, gets used to NFL football. So that's a great spot for him. The Raiders fans can be very excited about getting a very talented young quarterback.
So you don't think that quarterback for the Raiders, this is me talking, I think as many quarterbacks as the Raiders have had come shuttle in and out over the past 3 years, it's about time they focused on the fundamentals of building an offense and scheme rather than thinking that this next quarterback they had is going to get them out when they have a young one. Aiden is not a wildly crafty veteran. He is a kid.
No, he's still very young himself, though he's an older player because he was one of those 6th-year guys because of the extra COVID year. So he was a 24-year-old rookie. But so there's almost 4 years age difference between these two guys. But even though he hasn't played that long, but there's limitations on him. He's not very mobile. He has an average to slightly below average arm. So he's a guy that people like his personality, how smart he is and how hard he works, but there's some things he's just physically not able to do that a guy like JJ McCarthy can do.
Like
some of the throws he can make. There's a difference in how quickly the ball gets there when those guys, cut loose a deep over route or a deep post and bang eight. Like, it's visibly different how much they can get on the throw. And then once again, I mean, McCarthy's going to run probably in the 4.6s. I think O'Connell ran 5.03 or something. So it's a radically different type of athlete.
My only misgiving is that with all that, Aiden has this intangible leadership. And just being the field general. And I given that he just got there and he came this close to leading the Raiders into the playoffs.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I mean, he's not losing his job initially. He's going to still be the guy, but they're grooming his eventual replacement.
Now, they're so close in age that it makes me go gaga. And if it's making me go gaga now, imagine what it's going to do if I actually bring him in. I don't want that problem.
So here's what I'm going to say. This is a very likely scenario, whether you like it or not, Zennie, that they take a quarterback early.
Well, I know it's me making the decision now. I'm just saying.
Right. So remember, Aiden O'Connell's a guy that went where he went in the draft, at least in part because of the limitations I just laid out for you. He was not seen as a guy that would be a top-line starter.
Right.
To his credit, he's done better than most people have expected.
Right.
And he'll have at least 6 or 7 games or so to maybe prove everybody wrong. If he gets out there and just flat out kills it, then they could have sort of a Brock Purdy, Trey Lance situation where, the guy that everybody thought was going to be a backup becomes a starter, and the guy everybody thought was going to be a starter becomes a backup. That could happen. And that's sometimes a good problem to have. But I can virtually promise you they're going to look for a guy that has more potential, more upside, And then if Aiden O'Connell ends up proving everybody wrong, like I said, they'll be in the position the 49ers were. Well, oh, we have this, mystery box quarterback that somebody is going to like enough to give us something to take off our hands if that happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've decided what I'm going to do based on what I said, and I'll make the decision, and then I'll go and well, you know, I'll present the name, and the the Raiders, for me, need an offensive tackle for the future. Amarius Mims. And the reason is simply that I don't want to replace a rookie with a rookie. I don't want to be in a situation where I do that. And I want to focus. If I need a quarterback, I want to look at the market. Jameis Winston's available. He looked good in silver and black in Las Vegas. Going to Dante, Adams. And I would like to make that. I would like to get that guy. All right, in the way I see the Raiders should go. Okay, but I'm not going to put young after young. If I want Aiden to sit, I want him to learn from somebody he can actually listen to and follow his leadership. And Jameis Winston is that person. Then that gives me the luxury of building my offense and getting some really good young line talent to serve as road graders for Josh Jacobs and the other running backs and blockers for my two great quarterbacks. The nearly wild and crafty veteran, because Jameis is not yet 30. Well, he is. And then also Mr. Mims and others. So this is my controversial choice. Raider fans will hate me now, but I guarantee you, they'll when Jameis walks in, they'll love me. Trust me, they'll love me. All right. And I deliberately laugh like the Emperor for a reason, because right now I am the Emperor. Moving forward, we come to the Saints right after that, which I took the offensive tackle away from. Maybe I didn't. But, Bill, regardless of what I did, the Saints are under your control, Bill.
Sure. Well, the Saints are another team that could use a lot of things. I think this is the landing spot, though, for Jared Verse from Florida State. I think
great choice. Great idea.
I think that he gives them what they haven't had since Mr. Hendrickson took his talents to Cincinnati, and he is a guy who can be a stand-up pass rusher, put his hand in the dirt also, and he's a problem. He's a difficult guy to block. He's going to, I think, right out of the box, give you somewhere between 6 to 8 sacks as a rookie, and then become a guy that moves on to becoming a double-digit sack guy later down the line.
Jared Verse from Florida State, folks.
Yep, by way of Albany, where he was a Great Dane. I fell in love with him when he was still playing D2 ball, and I tried to tell people to watch out for him when he transferred up to Florida State. Watch out for the next Albany Great Dane transferring up to Arkansas is a kid named Anton Junkaj. He's not as athletic as Jared Verse, but he's violent and powerful. Think of like Kyle Vanden Bosch.
That's
the kind of player that Anton Junkaj is.
There you go. Oh, so we went to the Church of Vanden Bosch. Hey, yep, there you go, folks.
Guy's a powerhouse.
Now, moving forward, we have, thank you for that, Bill. That was quite a interesting, stirring explanation there. The Saints. And not only that, Jared Verse essentially is, well, I don't want to say the replacement, but he actually helps Cam Jordan, right?
He helps, but yeah, he helps everybody because
they
haven't had that explosive young pass rusher in a
Long time.
Yeah, right.
Well, not since Cam himself, right? So
I think they got a couple of good years out of Hendrickson before he moved on.
yeah, right.
Who
Yeah,
helped to give them
right.
some balance, inside outside kind of stuff. But now, they lost that, and you could see teams. You could see teams being able to key on who they wanted to stop, and then their pass rush pretty much ground to a halt.
Mm-hmm. So now we come to the Indianapolis Colts. Biggest need said to be defensive linemen. So guess who goes to the Colts?
There's a couple of guys I like. Yeah.
Well, you said Mr. Murphy number 2, right? So I'm gonna
right. Byron Murphy II is still there for them. I think the classic word is sprint to the podium to make the pick.
ding! Thank you, Bill. Yeah. So Byron Murphy to the Colts, folks, and that brings us to now, folks, if you're wondering where I got the from, it's from an old Burger King commercial. Remember the king used to have the crown. The crown would go
I remember, yes.
Yeah. There you go.
luckily, there's hopefully some older people in the audience who will know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me and you. That's probably about it.
Yeah, anyone who's not born in the '60s will be having to ask somebody about what we're talking about.
Exactly. So now we come to the Seattle Seahawks at 16. They say the biggest needs are linebacker, inside linebacker, edge, defensive tackle, and safety. What say you about that?
And I think they do go with pass rusher. I think this is where Latu.
Running back, though? You don't think they need a running back?
I don't think they're taking one in the first. I don't think there's a first-round running back in this class.
Really? Huh.
No, I don't believe it. I think that the second round will have probably 3 running backs in it, but I don't think there'll be a single one in the first.
Interesting. All right, go on.
One guy that had a shot got hurt. And when you are a scratch and dent sale running back coming out, I mean, we saw, we did see what happened with like Willis McGahee, but I think that's the exception that proves the rule. I think people have decided I'm not going to take a guy with a bad knee coming out early. But I think this is where Latu goes. I think that they have a good sense of who he is. They saw him in person a fair amount because he played in the Pac-12. They obviously, they see everybody, but they spend a lot of time in their own backyard seeing him play against Washington. And once again, it comes down to the medicals. He might have gone before this, in fact, if not for his medicals. He, as I mentioned, a guy who actually at one point had to medically retire.
Let me get that name again.
Latu. L-A-I.
Got him. UCLA.
Yep, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Came in at 6'4" on the nose and 261. Flexible, has a lot of moves, right? He's a guy that, shockingly refined for a guy coming out of college. He has a club rip. He has a spin. He has a long arm stab. He has that little ghost motion thing where you make a guy think you're going here and then you cut back. He's got a swim going inside and outside. He's got a bunch of moves. He's got all the moves, basically. Yeah.
Huh. All right. So we have Latu. Almost makes you want to say.
Yeah, Latu.
But it also makes you. It's like the Barata. What does it say? What was it in Forbidden Planet? That the famous line from Forbidden Planet.
You are determined to kill us with the 18-34 demo. I see that now.
Well, yeah, I am. In a lot. I mean, I am. But it was Komrata, Bata, Matu. Was that it?
You're close enough. If we're going to get sponsorship, we've got to try to skew younger, Zennie.
Oh, everybody loves that, though. I mean, everybody
our age loves that.
Oh, everybody anybody that likes classic film is into Gort. Okay, what Gort said, all right? Gort is the robot, right? Fictional human robot, okay? Gort lines. He didn't have many lines, Okay.
No, he did not.
He had one line.
Oh, Zennie. You are great at many things, but I don't know if marketing is your strong suit.
Okay, right, fine. Kalatu Barada Nikto.
Nick,
All right.
correct.
Kalatu Barada
Nick
Nikto.
Toe. Yes,
Say that-
Klaatu brought in Nick Toe. Yes.
Yeah,
that is
say that 3 times, you'll get like blown up, right? All right. So anyway, so Nick, I'm gonna say nickname. Nickname. This is my nickname for Latu.
Lie out to
Latu is gonna be Kalata Barata Nikto. That's it. That's his nickname, folks. That's it. Boom. Forbidden Planet. There we go. Take that and do with it what you will, folks. Moving forward. Great pick, though. Moving forward in our Odyssey here, we have, one of the most intriguing teams and enigmatic teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars fall to me. They say they have guard, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and offensive tackle. And I highly believe that the Jaguars, with their explosive offense, are going to want another weapon to go with that offense. And they're going to look around and say, you know what? There are some really interesting wide receivers that we have allowed to just sort of, slip by, and we didn't give them a chance, and we didn't really draft them, and they're still available, and we need to get them, and that also includes tight ends and that sort of thing. And so guess what we're going to do? We're going to reach down in the bag, and we're going to pull out Brian Thomas Jr. of LSU.
It's a good player.
Thank you.
And a lot of people will bring up the fact that he's been the number 2. Well, being the number 2 to Malik Neighbors is nothing to be ashamed of. He's a terrific player, and he's a little more of a sort of a contested catch guy than is Neighbors. He doesn't create as much separation. But look at the career that Rashee Rice is having.
Yeah.
And I could see him having sort of a similar career path.
I don't know that the Jaguars have. Actually, they do have a guy who can do that, but they're not. They really would benefit from Mr. Thomas as he can either play either Z or X, and I'm really excited to see him with the Jaguars. Now that brings us to Karata Nikto. Anyway. Galata Batu Nikto. The Bengals. And somewhere in there, if I say Kalata Barada Nikto, I get the Bengals. And I got them. So anyway.
Yeah.
And they fall to you, Bill.
They do.
Yeah.
The Bengals, stop me if you've heard this before, need offensive linemen. And they are pleased to see that J.C. Latham is still on the board. He is, once again, better suited probably to the right side than the left side, but they can use anything and everything. Some people even think he might kick inside the guard. Either way, he is a terrific piece to add to the current group they have. Whether he ends up being kicked inside, whether he ends up on the right side, or even plays on the left side, they could use him. Obviously, the decision of Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase will be debated forever. Largely based on, we'll see what happens with Detroit going forward, and we'll see what happens with Cincinnati going forward. But this gives them the chance to start to solidify that offensive line.
That name again, please?
JC, like Julius Caesar, and
Is
then
it
Latham. And then, it's just 2 letters, like Julius Caesar, JC, and then Latham, JC Latham, Alabama.
Got him. Cool. 6'6", 360.
He's a very large young man, yes.
Wow. Another Alabama Crimson Tide off the board. And that brings us to pick number 19, the Rams, and that falls to me. They say the biggest needs are cornerback, edge, linebacker, safety, and kicker. I would add running back, but okay. Let me go back because there's a lot of cornerbacks we haven't picked, and we got to make sure that they're had. Terrion Arnold's already off the board for Alabama, and
Yeah, as is Quinyon Mitchell.
yeah, but Nate Wiggins is not.
Nate Wiggins is very much available. Yes.
Right. So Nate Wiggins, one of the best players, 23rd ranked according to CBS. Where do you have him, Bill?
Where do I have Mr. Wiggins? Let me do some counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I have him number 17.
17. Okay. You have him higher ranked than CBS does. Wow.
I
Okay.
do.
Wow. So can you read off your list of rankings? Just while we're
Well, I mean, it's not finalized, but I can give you some of it. Well, like I said, right now it's in tiers as opposed to like a linear list.
it's
But the players I have
in tiers, like order.
the players I have first round grades on. I can
Mhm.
tell you those. These are players I have first round grades on. Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, Drake May, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Brock Bowers, Olumoya Fonashu, Joe Walt, Byron Murphy II, Jerzon Newton, J.J. McCarthy, Terrion Arnold, Quinyon Mitchell, Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, or as you like to call him, Baratu. Yes.
Two, but not on Nick.
Yes. Talise Fuaga, J.C. Latham, Nate Wiggins, Tyler Guyton, Jackson Powers Johnson, Troy Fonashu, let's see. Oh, yeah, Fontenot, sorry. Cooper DeJean, Jared Verse, Jaden Daniels, Keon Coleman, Chop Robinson, Braylon Trice, Amarius Mims, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Graham Barton are all players that received first-round grades from me.
All right. So we got that. And so, okay. Moving to the next player past the Rams, who have Mr. Wiggins, is the Steelers at 20. And that falls to you, Bill.
The Steelers are thrilled to see this player made it to them. We were a little worried that somebody would take him, maybe the.
Oh, I know what you're going to do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's Jackson Powers Johnson. We have not had a great center since Marquise Pouncey retired. We have had good centers and some serviceable centers. We haven't had a great center. This is a chance to have that decade player, the kind of guy that's going to go to 5 or 6 Pro Bowls, be a 2-time, all-pro type, and solidify the interior of the line. Jackson Powers Johnson can play center or guard at a high level, has a high football IQ and terrific football character. I'm thrilled to have him in black and gold.
Welcome Jackson Powers Johnson to the Steelers in the tradition of Mike Webster, who unfortunately is no longer with us for CTE and very tragic, horrible story that does not
tragic and horrible story.
Yeah, doesn't speak well of a lot of things. But anyway, okay, moving along. We have the next 21, the Dolphins, the Speed Merchants, in need of an inside linebacker or safety, another wide receiver, a defensive tackle, and a tight end, and that falls to me. Therefore, in looking at the available board, Bill, who do you like for the Dolphins?
Well, the Dolphins could use, to me, they could use a pass rusher. They could use, what else do they have up there as needs?
Inside linebacker, safety, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and tight end.
I don't think there's a safety you take quite this high. Tight ends, the only tight end with a first-round grade is already gone.
Yep.
And what else? Linebacker. Is there a linebacker I would take this year?
And defensive tackle.
Yeah. Now, defensive tackle, yes, there might be a player I would take this year. So let me take a look at. Did somebody Murphy's gone. Did somebody take? Oh, did somebody take Newton?
Uh,
Newton?
No.
Okay. Well,
No.
if Jerzon Newton is there, once again, it's one of those jump over people, run around people, whatever it has to take, spin move people to get to the podium to make the pick for Jerzon Newton. Newton shouldn't still be on the board, so that's perfect. They should be thrilled if he's still there.
Yeah, Jerzon Newton. Yeah, I'm looking to him for Arnold Newton College. Oh, wait a minute, Jerzon Newton from Illinois. He is gone.
I thought he was gone. Okay, I thought he was gone.
No, he's gone. He went to my bad because he went to he went before Jared Verse. He went after Roma Duze. Okay. So yeah, he is the. Let me see here.
Deservingly so. He's a terrific player.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who might be the next?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's the 11th player. So that means, he went.
He went early.
Yeah. Order. Let me see real quick. He went to. Going up here. Oh yeah, of course. He went to the Vikings.
Oh, way to go, Vikings! That's aggressive, but I like it.
It was
a need, and they addressed the need.
Went to the Jets.
Oh, we went to the Jets.
Yeah, I'm trying because we didn't send the quarterback that way. We were going to.
Oh wow. Well, yeah, with the Jets. Wow, that's a lot of talent going there. The Jets have a dangerous.
I'm lining this up because I should have put the team names in there, but I thought that I could line up number with number. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is Dallas Turner. Okay, so that's to the Jets. Roma Duze is 11.
To the Vikings, yeah.
To the Vikings, okay, right. And then we've got Mr. Newton, and Mr. Newton then went to the Broncos, right? Because we were talking.
Oh, that's right.
Because we were having a discussion.
You took him instead of the quarterback that everybody saw coming.
Yeah. I
see now.
Stir up the middle.
You're getting all that hate mail now because of that. But yes, that's right.
I'm getting hate mail left and right, man. I don't care. Bring it. I'll see you when the season starts. How's that?
That's the great line from Rick and Morty. You think it bothers me if you boo? I've seen what makes you cheer. But yes, that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. So now we're at the Dolphins.
Yep.
And with the pick is on the floor, and that falls to me, I believe, right?
I've lost track now, but sure. That's right now.
Yeah. Because wait a minute, I picked Mims, so the pick falls to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the pick. Wait a minute, let me make sure that's the case. Ooh, hold on. Boom. Yeah, you picked Johnson, so the pick falls to me. I'm sorry, Jackson Powers Johnson was your thing.
Yep. So good as you. Yep.
Okay, right. So that's me, and the Dolphins, in terms of availability, they need defensive help, and I don't see a defensive tackle on the board ranked this high. So let me see here. Brian Thomas is off the board for wide receiver. And all the wide receivers that are top ranked are gone right now. We've got, Xavier Worthy of Texas is available at wide receiver. And I'm going to take him.
Troy Franklin from Oregon still available. Other receivers that I have sort of in that fringe, first, second sort of fringe.
He's 6'1", 172.
Xavier Liggett and Jalen Polk are sort of right at that. And you mentioned Worthy. Those are all guys I have sort of in that 32 to 40 range.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with Keenan Coleman because he's taller. 6'4", 215.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's, even though they haven't rated it lower, but for whatever reason, it's just like a pick or two. So Keon Coleman of Florida State is going to be the latest Miami Dolphin. And wow, that's going to be quite a career. So that leads us to the Philadelphia Eagles at 22, with needs projected in running back, wide receiver, cornerback, edge, and linebacker.
Yep.
And Bill Carroll's up.
Okay. Let's see. You said they gave the needs as what positions again?
Oh, yeah, running back, wide receiver, cornerback, and edge is what they wrote in the
Corner. Yeah, so I think that I'll go corner here.
NFL.
Some people project Cooper DeJean to safety because he's white, but he's going to run really fast the combine, and I think that will maybe disabuse people of the notion that he should be moved to safety simply because he's white. But he is a terrific athlete.
Or it's all those lay people. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, I think people just look at him and say, "Oh, he's an Iowa,
He's Iowa. He's white.
he's a white Iowa corner. We'll move him to safety." Till they watch him run like 4.38, and then maybe they'll be like, "Oh, the guy is a terrific athlete."
Yeah, he's a cornfield dude who voted for Trump. Yeah.
But yeah, he's going to have a very good day at the office, and I think he'll end up doing quite well.
Cooper DeJean, folks, remember the name. Mustard. Nickname. DeJean, Mustard, ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Yes.
Iowa, 612. Mustard. Next pick. Up. Order. 23. The Texans in a pick acquired from the Cleveland Browns, and it falls to me. And their needs are said to be offensive tackle, defensive tackle, cornerback, edge, and wide receiver. Now, I've seen the Texans. I frankly think they need a hoss linebacker, and because their tackles are actually quite effective, but I believe they need a hoss linebacker, and so because of that, need, just based on my observing them, somebody that can really shoot the gaps and down the running backs for loss or blitz and get the quarterback. I am going to send to them the quintessential middle linebacker, Zach Frazier, out of West Virginia, 6'3", 210 pounds. That's inside.
Hold on. Zach Frazier's an offensive guard.
They have him as IOL. Is this wrong?
No, IOL means interior offensive line, guard or center.
Oh, okay. All right. So, see, folks, that's what you get when you don't know. You just read the papers. You misinterpret them. So, let me find somebody else.
There you go.
Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M.
There you go.
Why?
A guy that I think maybe has a shot to. I think he's right in that range of like 24 to 33. So he has a shot to go, from the latter half of the first into the very early part of the second. But he's
linebacker, 6'3". Let's see what the book says. What does the book say on him? You know about this guy.
Well, okay, Sergeant Cooper can cover. That's the first thing, right? If you can't cover, you're not going to go in the first round anymore. Jeremiah Trotter Sr. would be looked down a little bit more down upon because he was not great in coverage, but he was great at everything else. I mean, he just was an absolute he was a battle axe, and he just sliced through guards and blow through fullbacks and wreak havoc. Now you need to be able to move backwards as well as forwards, which is why his son, probably going to be a second rounder, but his son is, a different kind of prospect. The dad came out at 261 pounds, I think, and the son is like 234, right? So that shows you how the game is changing for interior linebackers. But yeah, in Mr. Cooper, he can cover. He's got enough size. He can stack and shed a little bit. I mean, once again, that's sort of I'm gonna say it's a dying art, but it doesn't matter as much as it used to. Once again, going back to Jeremiah Trotter Sr. was a master at stacking and shedding. Now they don't care as much about that. But Mr. Edgerrin Cooper, I feel old realizing this guy's named after Edgerrin James, but he moves sideline to sideline beautifully, can drop in coverage into the curl zone area, can even run with running backs and slot receivers up the seam a little bit, and is good against the run as well.
No, yeah, again, he pick up a fumble and return it all the way for a touchdown as he's
he's an athlete. Yeah, that's
He's
an athlete. That's what people like about him. He is a very good athlete.
He reminds me in a way, just watching him play, of Devin White.
Hmm.
You know, he just has the moves of a Devin White. So that would be a heck of a pickup for a team that's already powerful defensively. And if that were to happen, he's a guy that, wow. I mean, yeah, I'm watching him make Devin White type plays as I see this. I can't show these videos for copyright reasons,
right?
But
yes, you cannot.
This guy's got Devin White written all over him.
He's got some of that in him. Yes.
Yeah. So whoever gets this guy, and more than likely the way things are falling, the Texans will stare at him on the way down. They're going to get a player that's going to take them to the playoffs or be a part of a group that does so. If it's the Texans, that's part of their ticket to another go. Now, moving along in our rankings, in our order, we go from the Texans to the Cowboys at 24, and that calls to you, Bill Carroll.
Okay, that's exciting. There's once again another team that uses that can. They could afford to address their offensive line. Once a real strength of the team, they've got some age and injury issues along that offensive line. They could also use pass rush. They have one transcendentally great pass rusher, and the problem is they do not have the other guy, the Anthony Spencer to DeMarcus Ware, right? The guy that keeps you from being able to spend all of your time and attention on neutralizing the guy. I think they might try to find the other guy, and I believe the other guy is Chop Robinson from Penn State. He gives them a guy who gives that balance to that defensive line where you can't simply shift your protection. Now you've got to worry about him as well, and that will actually help Mr. Micah Parsons to continue to wreak havoc.
Chop Parsons, Penn State, trying to find
Chop Robinson. They already
Robinson.
So now they know each other, obviously. Though Robinson was, I think, a freshman when Parsons was a junior because he only played 3 years. But they do, at least he remembers Robinson in his first year at Penn State.
What ranking was he? I was looking at the board. I can't seem to find him. I was just trying to.
I mean, amongst most defensive ends, 3, 4, or 5, depending on who's ranked.
In the order of things, going down. It's yeah.
So I mean, it depends on who you ask, but
we got him at 21 under CBS. So
yeah, some people have him in the teens, some people have him in the 20s, some people have him in the 30s. Once again, the combine is going to be big for him. He doesn't have he doesn't have that classic length, but he's powerful and quick. And if he tests well, I think it keeps him somewhere in that 20-something range.
Okay. So Chop Robinson. All right. Next we have Green Bay Packers. And why I say like a horror show? Because sometimes they can be. Green Bay Packers fall to.
They have drafted well.
Yes, me. And the Packers are said to have safety, offensive tackle, cornerback, inside offensive line, IOL, and then edge. And so with that, I'm going to go entirely defense because they didn't get a lot of production from their defensive line without blitzing. And I want to help correct that by bringing in someone that can play either tackle or end and be effective regardless. And so the question is, who is that, right? So I'm looking at my available players, and the top guys are gone. We did a really great job of picking the top people when they were supposed to be picked, except Braylon Trice out of Washington.
Great pick.
6'4", 274, edge, 5th year. Now, I don't know that he can play the inside, but you know what?
Well, I mean, not inside in a true. I mean, he can be an inside rusher in like your special packages, but he's not a guy who's going to be great in coverage, but he's a terrific pass rusher.
Yeah. I'm not concerned about coverage so much. You know what I want? I want somebody that can, at 6'4", you can expect a 6, you know, 6'2" or 6'1", it's like, but back the pass. Even if you can't get in there, get your hands up, crush the pocket enough to get your hands up to back the ball. That's this guy. I want this guy to be a home wrecker. That's the idea. So, home wrecker. Next, in our constant search for home wreckers, which is the NFL mock draft, is let's see here, go here. Yeah. So we have Chop Robinson, Mr. Trice. And now we go to the next order, which would be let's see here. The Bucks. Biggest need: quarterback, wide receiver, inside lineman, safety, and edge. And this actually falls to you, Bill. Now, when I had this, I wound up taking a quarterback.
Well, obviously Tampa has a decision to make at a couple of positions. Mike Evans is a free agent, and because of where he is in his career and the fact that they're probably going to be hitting the reset button on their franchise, they probably won't be able to bring him back. They also could use, as was mentioned, well, they have, one terrific young safety, obviously, and the extremely gifted Antoine Winfield Jr. They could try to give him a partner. And did they mention offensive line?
They said they did inside offensive line. Yeah, they did.
I would agree that is definitely also a need. Let's take a look at what is there. They would have been thrilled if Braylon Trice had made it to them, but he did not. Let's see. Now, this is a player that can definitely play either guard or center, Graham Barton from Duke University. And he's a very polished player. He gives you a little bit of versatility because he can play either center, or guard. And he's another guy that's going to play right away. He's going to play immediately. He's not a guy that you need to groom. He's very polished and both physically and mentally ready to play in the NFL.
6'5", 314, Graham Barton.
Yep.
Graham Barton is headed to the Bucks. Good choice. And that brings us to pick 27. And the Cards again, acquired from the Houston Texans, and falls to me. So we already gave the Cards. We didn't give the Cards a quarterback. And we did give them, I believe, early on, a tackle. Yes, a tackle. So, in the effort to continue the building of the line, well, that's precisely what I'm going to do. Continue to build the line. And you'll thank me later in the Super Bowl when you look back at the line. And with 2 picks in the first round, 2 first-rounders on the line, and high expectations for a powerful running game, and with a very offensive design. Having said all that, who will that be? Well, BYU's Kingsley Sumata 6'6", 325. Tall, rangy, young, malleable. On the board, and guess what? This man is about to join the Arizona Cardinals and become all-pro perhaps in his first year. What do you think about him, Bill?
Well, Mr. Sumati is a big kid, as you pointed out. He's maybe not elite in terms of things like flexibility and foot quickness, but he is a powerhouse. He is a guy that moves people against their will in ways they would not like.
It's called road grader. I want a road graders.
Well, you found it. You
Yes.
did. You found it. You did it.
I want to build.
That's exactly what he is.
I want a road grader. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's exactly what Mr. Sumatia is. He is an absolute road grader power. And young, as you pointed out, just a redshirt sophomore. So
yeah,
you're getting a guy who, is still going to continue to develop and grow.
And that's what I want on my I want a very running game, ball control passing with the threat of the deep shot done in the classic West Coast offense, Bill Walsh offense style, and a powerful defense. I want to control the ball. And I want to have a running game that when we need it the most, when we need to muscle down the clock, we can call on Kingsley and others for that to happen. So there you go. Right. Now, fun draft. I'm liking this. And, I think as a draft, Nick, I've matured. Actually, I don't want to be that hard on myself. I've made picks like that before. 28, Buffalo Bills. Falls to you, Bill. What say you? They say they have safety, defensive tackle, edge, wide receiver, and cornerback.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they address corner. Though there's other players. I mean, there's a lot of things they need. Double check. Has Kool-Aid McKinstry come off the board yet?
I want to say no, but let me check and see. McKinstry?
Yep, Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid McKinstry from.
Oh no, I know. No, Kool-Aid has not come off the board.
I didn't think so. Okay, so he's coming off the board right here.
Okay,
he is. A lot of people had him at cornerback 1 coming into the season. He didn't quite have the season that people were expecting, though he still has a lot of talent. Now he's slid down to about corner 3 or 4 on most people's boards, but he's still a guy with a lot of potential. And of course, was groomed by Coach Saban, and everyone respects the work he does with defensive backs.
Now, Bill, I gotta say, if you are listed on someone's prospect board by your nickname, you've got to be good.
Well, and he had a really good year the year before. He got picked on a little more this year. Now, some of that's because the Alabama defensive line wasn't as dominant as it was the year previous. Though Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell certainly got pressure, but it wasn't quite the way it was in years before, where they were forcing people to panic as much. They still had a good defensive line, but not an elite Alabama defensive line.
Kool-Aid with the Bills. I love it. That's a star. Total star. We come to the Lions and me. The Detroit Lions. Wow. Their needs are said to be cornerback, offensive guard, edge, wide receiver, and defensive tackle.
Yep.
I'm interestingly, I'm going to go with best athlete available. That's need. But you know what? I'm going to go and look at the prospects because I believe the Lions have other areas as well where they could benefit. And so Michael Penix is still on the board.
Yes.
That is intriguing. And so I'm thinking about Jared Goff. I think he doesn't have a backup.
Well, I mean, he has a backup, but
but
I agree, it's not one that makes you feel great.
No. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm not letting this guy fall out of the first round. I'm bringing Michael Penix to Detroit.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, Jared is going to think his days are numbered, but I'm thinking, you know what? 2 or 3 years, maybe. Or, it gives us some flexibility, if you will. But I just, in my mind, I can't sit there and see Penix just not move. And I can't. It's a crime to have that kind of talent. Because remember I said initially, I'm not going to go with need. I'm going to go with best athlete available. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best available. Michael Penix Jr.
Another guy that basically has two things sort of working against him. He has great tape, but he's had season-ending injuries in 3 out of his 5 seasons that he was a starter, and he played a total of 6 years, so he's another older player. But if you can get past the somewhat scary injury history, age, but he's played at a high level recently. Yeah.
You know why I think that is, though? I mean, first of all, he did it really well the week of the Senior Bowl. He just decided not to play. I have 2 tapes of how he performed in the on the 20s. Very impressive. I've always been impressed with this young man. He's got it in his mind that he has to be the hero, and that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Right, it is both.
Okay, all right, but I don't care. This guy's a better passer than Drake May. By far. He runs a more complex offense than Drake May. By far. He can run if he needs to. I get the part of the injuries. He is a little banged up, and that's why he's falling. But I believe that by the end of the combine, his stock is going to rise. So this pick is based on...
I would say as long as his medicals come out clean,
yeah,
I agree that they rise. If his medicals come out with more concerns, he's going to slide. But
yeah,
to me, the big deal is medicals for him.
I agree, absolutely. But I can't let this guy fall out of the first round. I think it's a crime. It's this guy. Look, I can say that I could make an argument because the first time we did this, Drake May didn't get drafted until the Bucks. He fell a lot, okay, and I can still see that happening. I didn't do it because I thought that timing wise, it lined up for him to be drafted and play well for the Falcons at number 8. It just seemed like the right fit. Now, would I have done that if, say, if Bowers were available at that point? No, I would have taken Bowers. Or the difference between them are such that there are a number of boards where Penix is listed as better than May, and mine is one of them. But I just can't. But injuries are caused not because you decided to self-inflict them.
Right. Well, nobody. Right.
But having said that,
no one decides to get hurt. No.
But having said that, some people would say that there were times when it looked like he was literally trying to get himself killed being the hero. And that was the Michigan game, all right? But Michigan had a better game plan by far. And I can't fault him for that. I fault his coach, who's now going to be the coach at Alabama, which is weird. But my gut tells me this is the right thing to do. Now, how will Jared Goff feel? He will feel not comfortable. He will feel like what he did wasn't appreciated, and that's not true. It's just that Jared is getting at that point in years where he really has to, and there have been questions about this earlier. You remember this. People were asking, okay, is he really the guy? Can he do it?
Yeah, he's been asked that since he was a rookie.
Right.
There have been questions literally since his rookie year.
Right. And I've always been a big proponent of the Golden Bear entirely. But we're at that point now where I believe, given that Jared Goff is at that magic place where he is, um, got the money. He's 29. He's 29.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's time, you know. They didn't quite get to the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean they can't again. But if he gets injured and you bring in Penix, I guarantee you the rate at which this kid learns their offense, they will not lose a step. If this happens. If this happens. Oh, here comes the hate mail. All right. All right. Now, if you were at 29, what would you have done with this pick?
I'm probably, if I were going to go with a guy who's probably going to be a backup, I'd probably go with a younger player. So I'm probably going to wait and get one of the younger, sort of developmental quarterbacks. But I probably would give them a true speed receiver because they have a lot of good receivers, but not a single one that just flies, like just blows past people.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at Troy Franklin from Oregon. He's one of those guys who's got blazing speed, and he's got good size too. He's, it's like 6'2.5", 187 pounds. He's sort of like CD Lamb in terms of build, but faster in a straight line than CD Lamb is. And you now have that young tight end, right? They have a star young tight end. They have a terrific sort of, I would sort of say, somebody, when you think about what Keenan Allen was at age 24, 25, right? And Amon-Ra St. Brown, who could a little bit of do everything wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put a true speed merchant with him, and then you have that size guy if they hold on to Josh Reynolds, or maybe they draft another receiver. But now they have a full complement at receiver. They have that 1-2 punch at running back because they still have Montgomery, who they got from the Bears, and obviously Jahmyr Gibbs, who's now becoming the number one as Montgomery becomes the number 2. And then I would probably, from this point forward, I would probably find, some depth at offensive line in the next pick, and then move on to the defense pretty much with most of the rest of the draft.
Yeah. So now we get to, having done that, the Ravens. Defensive tackle, I believe this is right on. They do need to be defensive tackle. A guard, a wide receiver, a cornerback. I think it's all right on because you can do both best athlete and fill that or need and fill that. So, boom.
Well, I mean, you can do both in my mind with getting T'Vondre Sweat, the other D tackle from Texas. And he gives them something they really haven't had since, I guess you'd have to go back to almost a decade. Well, yeah, probably almost a decade. They've had that combination of explosive power and quickness and size in the interior of their defense.
You thinking about Moose?
Well, I was going to, no, maybe not quite that far back. I was thinking more of
Haloti Ngata. Haloti Ngata.
Ngata, right.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking about. Haloti Ngata was about 300, probably close to 360, really, but in the heart of his career. But Sweat's about 346 pounds, and for his size, moves extremely well. And one of the things that impressed me about him at the Senior Bowl, because I think I thought of him as kind of a run plugger and Murphy as the penetrator, but he showed some surprising finesse and quickness and use of pass rush moves when I got to see him in one-on-ones. Now, one-on-ones are always a little bit skewed because it always favors the defensive lineman more than the offensive lineman. But you can see that T'Vondre Sweat's more than just a run stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got now we come to the Kansas City Chiefs. and me.
Yep.
The Chiefs. Wow. The Kansas City Chiefs. And the end. Biggest needs, they say, defensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, running back, offensive tackle. They need wide receiver. To me, pure and straight out. Their receivers, even though they won the Super Bowl championship, their receivers a lot of the time were just dropsy, dropsy, dropsy. So they need some fresh blood in there.
Mm-hmm.
Top line fresh blood. So among those remaining, we've got, make sure that we didn't miss anybody that was that should be considered. I don't want to go too low. Now I am looking at, of course, Lad McConkey out of Georgia. Yes, Lad McConkey. No brainer.
Yes.
Mr.
Lad the Impaler. Yeah. He was the guy that put on kind of a show a little bit during Senior Bowl week. Now the one caveat is a lot of those moves he took a little too long to set up. You won't have that kind of time in a real football game.
Whoa! Stop! Time out. Enlighten us more about what he did at the Senior Bowl. Let me
Sure. So
spotlight you there. Here, give
he
you
was one of those guys that gave you. I sort of think back, to other guys in the past that, like I said, put on a show.
Yeah.
The problem is the show goes on a little too long. He would use maybe one move too many in order to get free, and Quinyon Mitchell, was having none of it. So he got some business done against everybody else except Mr. Quinyon Mitchell. But
what did Mitchell do?
just jammed the living daylights out of him and said, none of that. Quinyon Mitchell's terrific. He had a great. He may have had the best week of anybody at the Senior Bowl at that. But Lad McConkey's going to be a crafty little slot receiver and have a nice career. He's going to have a very nice career.
It's nice. So let's recap about what we did here from top to bottom. In the first round, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. Let me go back to reset this. So I'm going along here. And then I'll have a standard list of these, what we did in my written report. And there. There. Okay. Bears. All right. So Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Bears, and followed by Caleb Williams to the Commanders, followed by pick 3, which is whoops, it went off the rails for me. Excuse me. Come on. Yeah. Omuyiwa Fishano, pick 3, the Patriots, and a line guy, and then followed by another line guy, and that's Joel Alt to the Cardinals, and then followed by that, Malik Neighbors went to the Chargers, and then Jalen Daniels, a quarterback, went to the Giants. And then Brock Bowers went to the Titans here. And then Drake May went to the Falcons, although I could easily see Penix going here if he does well in the combine. If he does well in the combine, as well as he should do if you erased his injuries.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what well for him is.
Thing, yeah.
What the doctors have to say is well for him.
Yeah. But I'm comfortable with Drake May here at pick 8. Although, whatever. The Bears now. Talise Fuaga, And then for the Jets, we had, because I didn't hear from Carrillo, Tallis Turner. And then we had at 11, Rome Adunze. This is a Bill Carroll special. Actually, that was me asking you, and I picked that because you picked Mr. Newton.
Yep.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Yeah, Rome Adunze was you.
Yes.
Yeah, because then Broncos, me, that was Mr. Newton because I didn't think they needed a quarterback from the draft. Hate mail. Then the Raiders got Amaris Mims
Yes.
because
Yes.
Amarius, thank you, because that was my observation that Cole Miller's, he's getting long on the tooth. And then we have the Saints getting Jared Verse. That was a Bill Carroll special. And quite a possible outcome there. Although there's talk that Jalen Daniels could fall to them. Do you think that they would actually pick him if that happened?
I think there's a couple of different landing spots for Jane Daniels. I think the Jane Daniels marketplace opens at around, the Giants or Vikings, and I don't think he makes it past Tampa. I think it's somewhere in there.
Now, okay, so the Colts then had Byron Murphy. Yeah, Byron Murphy. The Colts had Byron Murphy after Jared Verse, and then Seahawks had Latu or Klaatu Barata Nikto.
Yes. Yes, of course.
And then 17, the Jaguars had Brian Thomas Jr. And then J.C. Latham went to the Bengals. Nate Wiggins went to the Rams. And then Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon went to the Steelers. And then Ian Coleman went to the Dolphins. And then Cooper DeJean, Mustard, went to Eagles. And then we had Edgerrin Cooper went to the Texans. I think that's the most exciting defensive pick there to me personally. And then if that happens, even Cowboys get Chop Robinson, Braylon Trice goes to the Packers, Graham Barton goes to the Bucks, and then Kingsley
Suamataia.
Thank you. Goes to the Cards. And then Kool-Aid McKinstry goes to the Bills. Michael Penix Jr. to the Detroit Lions. I love that pick. The Ravens get Devondre Sweat. And finally, Ladd McConkey goes to the Super Bowl champion and couldn't bring him his own Kansas City Chiefs. Not bad.
Oh, not bad at all.
Not bad. I'm comfortable with that. What say you, Bill? You have this look of concern.
No. I mean, that's how I always look that way. But no, that's a solid day's work, I would say. I feel pretty good about most of it. You are going to get some hate mail, of course, as you noted. There will be some disappointed people. But all in all, these are players going, I would say, within 8 to 10 picks of where, well, some of them I think we probably nailed a couple of them, but I think we aren't more than 8 to 10 picks off of where almost any of them will go, with the one exception of if the medicals come back bad on Latu and or Michael Penix Jr. Those are the two guys who have probably, in terms of just pure injury history, the most volatility in their draft stuff.
Now, we didn't set this is the combine coming up, and we haven't set our plans yet, and we need to do that. So let's talk off camera, and then we'll announce something.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Hey, everybody, thanks a lot. We'll be back with another mock draft this week. Thank you for subscribing to Zennie62 on YouTube, and please bookmark. Hey, I think it's a good time to show this, folks. Yes, I do think it's a good time to show this. It is a very good time to show what I'm about to show, because I'm very proud of it. It is called NFL News by Zennie62. It is one of our new websites. This one is a specific standalone, built by moi, WordPress website specifically focused only on the NFL and nothing else. And in the perfect Zennie62 media fashion, it has automatic YouTube feeds, not a lot as our others, but a handful, but enough to there see. So automatic YouTube videos, like for example, here Jackson Powers, familiar name, has hands like Bosa. Okay, so we've got now YouTube videos from the NFL draft and from the Super Bowl. So you're going to see a mix right now, and I'm going to add the combine next. And so then we've got, here's another one, Brian Thomas Jr. So you can read, you can watch all of these videos about all of these views and opinions and news about the players coming specifically to the 2024 NFL draft. And here's biggest takeaways from Niners Super Bowl loss. That's Super Bowl material. And then here, look at this. Are we overhyping Drake May in the 2024 draft? Phil Simms weighs in. Did I start something there when I said he was a
I wouldn't say start something. There have been question marks. And even at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, well, tell me about it. You were at the Senior Bowl.
I mean, obviously he wasn't there because he's not eligible to participate. But, well, I guess this year he would have been because they opened it up to players who wouldn't have in previous years been eligible, but chose not to participate. I guess is a better way to put it. But even the Southern, the South California game. I mean South Carolina game. There have been 4 or 5 games where you saw him struggle to recognize things in disguise coverage and a bunch of other stuff. And some of that people always say, well, that's coach.
Not just South Carolina. I remember NC State.
Right. I mean, I said there's 4 or 5 games you can point.
Yeah, they're crushed.
Even in his worst games, you saw him still do like 1 or 2 wow things, and it all comes down to what you value in the position, right?
That's what I'm getting at. I just, here's my thing, and I want your comment on that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's just burning. He's an air raid guy, and the nature of the air raid is big plays. So you're going to see wild things from people. You always have. Okay. And I have a feeling that, to me, that warps an individual's opinion about what a quarterback can do.
Sure. I mean, we saw it happen with Johnny Manziel. We're sort of kind of seeing it happen with even Caleb, though Caleb is a little more developed. But he played in more big games, obviously, but he also creates, both in a good and a bad way, plays outside the structure of the offense and sometimes refuses to take checkdowns when they're right there. 6 to 8 free yards right there, and he just passes them up to try to make the big play. So both those guys scare me a little bit for some of the same reasons. Mm-hmm. But the undeniable thing about both of them is talent, right? They both have a super high talent level, and that is going to make a team, it only takes one, decide to take that risk. And we'll see just where they're comfortable taking that risk.
Yeah, so folks, you want to learn more about that, you can just scroll down and look at that. And what you do is scroll down past this, and you can just watch the video by pressing the red button. Pretty cool, huh, Bill?
It is very cool.
Thank you. And it works. This is the first one of these I made where it just worked right out of the box. I didn't have any code problems, nothing. Nice. And Yeah. And so you've got, see, this guy says, I don't know who this guy is. But the reason I did this, folks, is because now there's so much content on YouTube about the NFL, so many comments, that to me, the news isn't capturing all of this stuff, making this a resource. So that's what it is, folks. It's a resource. Malik Neighbors, this guy says, is Tyreek Hill special. I don't know who that guy is. Do you know who this guy is? And I know who Malik Neighbors is, but I don't know who this guy is in the photo. See?
Oh, hold on.
See, I don't know who
this guy is.
Malik Neighbors.
I'm trying something worth. It looks like I don't know. I don't think it's someone I know, but it looks like it might be Joel Worth. Maybe I can only see part of the name.
Yeah. And then we've got right behind him, we have somebody else that Hayden Gilliam, talking about Hayden Gilliam, draft diamonds.
Yeah, so Hayden Gilliam is sort of a guy who's likely been undrafted free agent, but he's a tough guy. He's a smart guy. Cooper Beebe is the guy who's going to go probably in the first couple of rounds, but this is one of his teammates who is one of those guys that plays through injury, super tough, knows the game. He just doesn't have that level of talent you're going to take in the first 100 picks or even the first 200 picks. He's a guy who's like a fringe prospect.
So this is Alicia Keys at the Super Bowl. This is also intermixed with our content, so Zennie 62, myself, or Bill, or anybody else can put their content on. It becomes intermixed. I'm going to have a way of discerning that where you can push a button in a bit. So first says CEOs need to draft the center. You get the idea. I'm very proud of this construct of ours, since the corporation owns it. And so this is going to be the new home for our coverage of the NFL draft and the NFL Combine. And it's ready! Woo! And if you want to sponsor it, hey, just contact Zennie at Zennie62media.net, me, and I'm happy to send you our statistics and our sponsorship package. So this is NFL News by Zennie62. We are delighted to put your ads all over this. Okay, so this is it. Pretty cool, huh, Bill?
It is very cool.
Yeah, thank you. And it's still going to add some more to the menu and everything else. You know, Bill has his section I need to plug in there. It's already made. Just have to do that next. And then there it is. So with that, folks, Bill, thank you for joining me. Stick around in the background. And folks, we'll see you later in the week. That ends the stream.